Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Listen, if you're applying from outside Australia right now and dreaming of studying there, let's just be honest for a second. The new 2026 student visa rules probably look absolutely terrifying. I mean, from massive fee hikes to way stricter testing, the hurdles have literally never been higher. I totally get how overwhelming all these changes feel right now. But hey, don't worry. Today, we're going to decode these bureaucratic hurdles, figure out the hard truths, and turn them into an actionable, money-saving game plan just for you.
Okay, let's dive into this roadmap. We're going to cover 5 key areas today. First, the 2026 visa reality. Then, academic and English requirements, followed by the financial proof burden. After that, we'll look at the regional university advantage, and finally, we'll wrap up with an undergrad applicant action checklist. Let's get right into it.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the 2026 visa reality. It's time to face the first hard truth. The whole landscape for international students has fundamentally shifted. Looking at all the crazy headlines lately, you might be asking yourself, is the Australian study dream now totally out of reach? And you know what? It's completely valid to fear that these recent changes have locked you out. But I want to reassure you right here, right now, the door is definitely not closed. It's simply a new game with new rules. And once you know those rules, you can absolutely still win this.
So the biggest shift we're seeing is with visa integrity, specifically the Genuine Student or GS test. This was introduced back in March 2024 to replace the old Genuine Temporary Entrant essay. Basically, those vague, flowing essays about your dreams, yeah, they're officially out. Now you have to answer 4 highly specific questions directly on your account form. You get a maximum of 150 words per question to explain your ties to your home country, exactly why you chose this course, and its concrete career value. But here's the kicker. Your answers must be backed by verifiable documentation. Think tax returns, employment letters, that sort of thing. Case officers want hard proof now, not just promises.
Let's move to Section 2, academic and English requirements, and see how this builds into the incredibly strict new benchmarks you have to meet before you even apply.
The English proficiency threshold has definitely been raised. The baseline minimum score for the standard subclass 500 student visa is now up to a 6.0 overall on the IELTS. And if you're aiming for direct entry into a degree, you're really looking at a 6.0 to 6.5. But please, pay close attention to this next point because it is absolutely crucial. The Australian government strictly rejects fully online or at-home English tests. Seriously, no IELTS online, no TOEFL IBT Home Edition. It is an absolute necessity that you book an in-person test in your home country to avoid instant visa rejection.
Now, if you don't quite hit those grades or that English score, you might find yourself staring down the difference between direct entry and what we like to call the foundation course trap. Direct entry is exactly what it sounds like, starting your bachelor's degree immediately. But if you fall even slightly short, universities are going to offer you a packaged course. This is a foundation program that eventually leads into your bachelor's. And while it might sound like a super helpful, guaranteed pathway, it's actually a really dangerous financial trap for a lot of international students.
Here's exactly why it's a trap. Doing a foundation course is going to cost you an extra $15,000 to $35,000 Australian dollars just in tuition. Plus, it adds 6 to 12 months of delayed time to your overall studies. That means you literally have to pay for another full year of rent and living expenses while you finish it. Consider this a massive wake-up call to study hard and hit those direct entry requirements so you don't get caught in this ridiculously expensive detour.
And that brings us perfectly to Section 3, the financial proof burden. Let's shift our focus to what is arguably the most intimidating part of the whole 2026 application process.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we can visually break down these massive required liquid funds so the total doesn't feel quite as terrifying. First up are your living costs. The government now requires you to prove you have 29,710 Australian dollars available for a single student for 1 year. Then add to that your visa application fee, which is $2,500, plus your estimated return travel, which sits around $2,000. You absolutely must prove all these liquid funds are sitting in recognized financial institutions before your visa is ever granted.
Let's look a little closer at that visa fee because the stakes have honestly never been higher. The subclass 500 application fee jumped all the way to $2,500 in 2026. That is a huge increase from the old $710 fee. And the absolute worst part? It is completely non-refundable if your visa is refused. No way around it. If your application gets denied because of a vague genuine student answer or because you took an online English test, that $2,500 is just gone forever. This is exactly why following our upcoming strategy is so incredibly critical.
So how on earth do we outsmart these costs and caps? Let's pivot from the hard truths to our strategic solution in Section 4, the Regional University Advantage. This is basically your ultimate cheat code for studying in Australia.
And this brilliantly illustrates why bypassing capped metropolitan cities for regional universities is hands down the smartest financial and immigration move you can make. Major cities like Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane are facing incredibly strict student caps right now, with universities being forced to reduce intakes by up to 25%. Compare that to regional areas, which, by the way, actually include massive, beautiful cities like Perth, Adelaide, and the Gold Coast. These areas are heavily incentivized by the government. They totally avoid the strict caps, they offer extra post-study work time, they grant migration points, and honestly, most importantly, they offer 30 to 40% cheaper rent and living costs.
Let's rapid-fire these massive regional perks, because this strategy completely neutralizes the heavy financial burdens we just talked about. By studying regionally, you get up to 2 extra years on your temporary graduate visa to work in Australia. You also earn 5 bonus points towards skilled migration if permanent residency is your long-term goal. Plus, those 30 to 40% lower living costs mean that terrifying $29,710 proof of funds requirement actually stretches so much further in reality. Oh, and you get better access to government schemes like the Destination Australia scholarships, which can literally hand you up to $15,000 a year.
All right, bringing it all home with Section 5, the Undergrad Applicant Action Checklist. We've covered the rules, we've covered the traps, and we have the ultimate strategy. Let's land this plane with a concrete game plan.
So, the crucial point is this: you need a solid plan of attack. And here are the 4 mandatory actions you literally need to start working on today. Step 1. Book an in-person IELTS or PTE test in your home country and study your heart out to secure that 6.0 or higher to avoid the foundation trap. Step 2. Stop looking at capped cities and start targeting universities in vibrant regional hubs like Perth, Adelaide, or the Gold Coast. Step 3. Start working with your recognized financial institutions right now to secure that $29,710 Australian dollars in verifiable liquid bank funds. And Step 4. Begin gathering your hard evidence. We're talking tax returns, employment letters, property records, the whole shebang, so you can absolutely dominate those 4 questions on the GS test.
The 2026 rules might be designed to filter out the unprepared, but they massively reward anyone who is strategic, focused, and informed. You now have the exact roadmap to bypass the caps, save thousands on living costs, and submit an application the Department of Home Affairs simply can't ignore. So I leave you with this final, very important question as you take charge of your future. Are you ready to prove you are a genuine student,